move to that point where Jesus is your unique goal. You confess because you sin. But there's a place where you live above sin. When you lean on the Holy Spirit and it begins to convey the dimensions of Christ. He said, even in the face of torture, they stood their ground. Here we are in a generation where a young man sees a lady and then he says it's temptation, it's temptation, it's temptation. What do you mean? The Moravians sold themselves as slaves to enter into cities of wardom. The ancient France, city of wardom, to preach the gospel. Some of them were in brothels as servants in order to win some of the harlots. And here you come to church, they say, somebody, the ladies, they are, oh my God, we are falling. The reason is because we don't have the knowledge of God. The power of God is no longer at work in our inside. They did not accept deliverance that they may have a better resurrection. Read the story of the Moravian brothers. Some of them gathered themselves and they went to live in a cave for 100 years, praying from morning till night. Is it because it's wrong to have a good job, to have money? No. They know that for the world to be preserved, there is a nature of intercession that needed to go to the world. So they sacrificed themselves. And these men prayed non-stop for 100 years. Non-stop for 100 years. Why did John the Baptist go to live in the wilderness? On camel skin, on locusts, on white honey. Why? These are the kind of men that rejected deliverance. They knew there was nothing wrong, but they saw a kingdom. They saw the move of God. They saw what God wanted to do in a generation. And they knew that there were gaps. So their lives became sacrifices to fill the gap. This is not telling you to live a life careless and wretched. No, this is walking with God until He reveals His Son to you and you begin to respond to the burdens that is consistent with the wiring of your ordination. They rejected deliverance. When I read the story of the Moravian brothers, I wept. A man sold himself. The money that was given to him for selling himself, he gave it to the poor and he left, and for a lifetime he becomes a slave so that the gospel can enter a nation. I heard the story of Maurice Arulu. He took the gospel to Greece after the days of the patriarchs. He was the first that took the gospel to Greece in modern day Christianity. And when he went, the bishop that invited him, he realized that there was no authorization to use any hall in Greece. So the man invited him, hoping that they would go from parks to parks, from garage to garage to preach the gospel. Maurice Arulu went indoors, all the money he had, paid for a hotel, and he was praying. On the 9th day, a woman knocked and said, some beings spoke to me to come and help the man in this room. That was how he was linked to the president. And then the gospel opened up in the land of Greece. Men who rejected deliverance. And that young man was a teenager at the time.